The first time Clara walked into that quiet, sterile hospital room, she felt like she had stepped into a world where time itself stood still. The man who lay before her, hooked to machines that beeped rhythmically, wasn't just anyone. He was Andrew Sterling, a billionaire known across the country for his ruthless business empire, his mansion that overlooked the city like a fortress, and his life lived at a speed most people could never dream of. But now, none of that mattered. For nearly 3 years, he had been trapped in silence, locked inside a coma no one thought he would ever wake from. His body was still, his eyes closed, his once commanding voice silenced. To most, he was unreachable. To Clara, he became something else entirely, a silent witness to her pain, her secrets, her fears, and eventually, her hope. Before we dive deeper into this powerful and emotional journey, if you believe in the strength of kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, then please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Spark. Your support helps us spread these heart-touching stories further. Clara wasn't wealthy. She wasn't powerful. She was just a woman carrying the invisible scars of a hard life. Her father had passed away when she was a teenager, her mother's health had declined soon after, and Clara worked endless shifts at a diner to cover bills while trying to keep her dreams alive. Life often felt like an uphill battle. When her mother passed away too, Clara was left alone in the world, struggling with grief and the crushing silence of her tiny apartment. She had no one to talk to, no one to pour her heart out to, until, strangely, she found Andrew Sterling. At first, it was only meant to be part of her new job. Clara had been hired as a cleaner for the hospital wing where Andrew stayed. She didn't even know who he was at the time, just that he had been in a coma after a car accident. The nurses whispered about his fortune, his family who never visited, the business empire hanging in limbo while its owner lay motionless. Clara listened quietly but didn't think much of it. Her job was to keep the place clean. But one day, she lingered. She looked at him lying there, so still, his face both strong and vulnerable in that pale light. Something in her chest stirred. Before she knew it, she whispered softly, "You must be so lonely in here." That tiny sentence opened the floodgates. Day by day, as Clara cleaned and organized his room, she began speaking to him. She talked about her day, the customers at the diner who laughed too loudly, the aching loneliness in her heart, the dreams she had once carried of becoming an artist. She confessed things she never dared say aloud to anyone else, that she sometimes hated the world for taking her family, that she was tired of fighting every single day, that she longed for someone to truly see her. What Clara never imagined was that Andrew Sterling, the man everyone believed was lost to the world, heard every word. Inside his coma, Andrew's mind floated in darkness. He couldn't move, couldn't speak, but he could hear. At first, the voices that came were sterile, the doctors, the nurses, the occasional lawyer or business partner. They spoke of him like an object, like a body that had failed, like a man already gone. But then, one day, he heard her voice. Soft, trembling at first, but honest in a way that pierced through the fog. Clara spoke as though he was human, as though he still mattered. That was the moment Andrew began to fight harder in that silent prison, clinging to the sound of her words like a lifeline. Weeks turned into months. Clara's routine became a ritual. She brought flowers sometimes, set them on the window ledge, and told him stories about her mother's love for roses. She sketched small drawings in her notebook and left them on the table, even though she knew no one would see them. She told Andrew about her fears, like the eviction notice that once showed up on her door, or the nights she cried herself to sleep. Sometimes, she even laughed, sharing silly little things about her day just to fill the silence. The hospital staff noticed her but didn't interfere. To them, she was just a lonely woman talking to a man who couldn't hear. But for Andrew, those words became his anchor. He memorized the cadence of her voice, the hope and sorrow interwoven within it. In his world of darkness, Clara's presence painted light. He wanted to wake, to tell her he heard it all, to thank her, but his body refused to obey. As years passed, Clara herself changed. Her visits weren't just out of duty anymore. They were her escape. The world outside was hard, cold, unyielding. Inside that hospital room, she found a strange kind of solace. It felt as though Andrew understood her in a way no one else did, even if he couldn't speak. She began to look forward to those hours, even dressing a little nicer before she came, as if it mattered. Somewhere deep down, she admitted to herself that she cared for him, even if he never woke. But then, life struck Clara with another cruel blow. She fell seriously ill, nothing fatal, but enough to cost her job at the diner. Bills piled up, and she faced the terrifying possibility of losing her small apartment. For the first time, she thought of stopping her visits. She whispered to Andrew one evening, tears slipping down her cheeks, "I don't know if I can keep coming. I'm so tired. Maybe this is goodbye." Inside his coma, Andrew screamed. He fought with every ounce of his willpower, desperate to move, desperate to let her know she couldn't leave him. For the first time in years, a flicker of movement crossed his fingers. The nurses noticed, but dismissed it as reflex. Clara didn't see. She left that night feeling emptier than ever. But fate had other plans. A week later, as Clara dragged herself into his room again, broken from yet another rejection letter from a job application, she slumped into the chair and whispered, "I wish you could just wake up and tell me what to do." At that exact moment, a sound broke the monotony of beeps and hums, the faintest groan. Clara froze. Her heart pounded. Slowly, Andrew's eyelids fluttered open. The weeks that followed felt like a miracle. Andrew Sterling woke up, his body frail but his mind sharp. The world was shocked, a billionaire lost for years had returned. But no one was more stunned than Clara. The first time he was able to form words, his eyes locked on hers, and he whispered, "I heard you." Every word. Clara broke down, sobbing, unable to believe it. He repeated, stronger this time, every single word. What unfolded after was a story no one expected. Andrew was grateful not just for his life, but for Clara. She had been his tether, his companion in the dark, his reason to keep holding on. Despite his wealth and power, he admitted he had lived a lonely life before the accident, surrounded by people who wanted his money but never his soul. Clara had given him something priceless, truth, vulnerability, and kindness without expecting anything in return. Healing took months, but Andrew insisted Clara stay by his side. He supported her, helped her with her struggles, and more than that, he listened. For once, Clara wasn't the one pouring out words into the void. She was being heard, deeply, sincerely. Their bond grew stronger, transforming into something more beautiful than either had imagined. It wasn't about his money or her struggles, it was about two souls who had found each other in the most unlikely way. Their story spread like wildfire, inspiring millions. People called it a miracle, a romance born in silence, a testament to the power of kindness. But for Clara and Andrew, it was simply life, two broken people finding healing in each other. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that kindness can transform lives in ways we cannot imagine, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, subscribe to Kindness Spark, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Your support means the world to us. And before we close, here's a special request. Comment below with the words, "Kindness brings miracles," if you believe love and compassion can heal even the deepest wounds. Because sometimes, the most powerful connections are not built in grand gestures, but in whispered words spoken when no one else is listening. Clara spoke. Andrew heard. And together, they found a new beginning.